This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you been struggling lately? Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, difficulty with the relationship, or just suffering from self-doubt. Now, y'all know there's no shame in my game, and life has been lifing lately. Trying to manage the priorities of being a wife, mom, friend, and full-time entrepreneur, it can get overwhelming. If this sounds like you, then BetterHelp wants to help you today. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Talk to a therapist in a private online environment at your convenience. There are over 20,000 therapists in BetterHelp's network, which gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. How cool is that? Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions. Plus, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced therapist from BetterHelp. There's a special offer to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast listeners. You get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slang. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/slang, SLAYING. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. I'm here with Dr. Cindy Trimm from Trimm International. How are you, Dr. Trimm?
On top of the world, still rising and making waves that other people ride.
I know that's right. So we are here to talk about your self-doubt journey and everything that you have going on. So can you tell the audience about yourself and how you got started?
Wow. I got started in abject poverty. And a lot of times people believe that if they have all of this external stuff, like more education, more money, more connections, then their life could be better and they can have more success, but that's not true. I grew up in abject poverty, and everything that I needed was given to me at conception, not at birth. And it was up for me to really become self-aware and develop self-knowledge. And it started out really with poverty being a blessing to me. And people ask me all the time, how can poverty be a blessing? Well, there was nothing to reach out to. So I learned how to reach on the inside. I learned how to change the stories I told myself. And when I connected with who I really was, I began to find out that I was enough, that it was all about enoughness. It was not about having enough. It was being enough. And we live in a world that teaches us how to loathe ourselves rather than love ourselves. Someone that's always better than us. So I learned at a young age not to be the best, but to become the only. Yeah, because if you're the best, you should be the best version of yourself, of course.
Right.
But not look at being the best as competing with others, but competing with the next best version of myself. And I learned all of that while I was in poverty. So poverty for me was a gift.
Wow. That is it's amazing that you say that, because I'm currently doing this program where they're talking about how certain things that have happened over our lives, they've made, with my air quotes, have been bad or negative or whatever, how we can take those things and look at them as a gift. And one of the things, literally, I said this yesterday, was like, I really want to be able to see and be in the situation and know that it's a gift. Because at the end of the day, I know that everything is going to work out for my good. I believe that even if I'm going through those trials and tribulations, that eventually I'll be like, oh, I know why that had to happen. I see the gift in it. But it's sometimes very difficult for people to see the gift in the midst of. And so, being as though you said you learned it at such a young age, how do you encourage other women to do that when they're going through? Because that is, it's not
Be
an
your
easy
best. I
thing.
mean, be your best advocate. Okay. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Yeah.
Everything in life is happening for you. And then life, as you mature and you become older, you will discover that life becomes your mirror. It's reflecting what you want, who you are, and what you think you're worth.
Wow.
And then also reflects for you the next greatest expression of gifts and talents hidden in potential form. And I want to go back to the whole story about me and being blessed with poverty, or being blessed by being born into poverty. When I was 8 years old, I started my first business out of necessity. And I've been a business owner ever since. And so that's when I connected with my ability to create money out of thin air. And it was just an idea. So we're an ideas generating machine. And everything in this world is driven by an idea.
Yeah.
Human potential, human progress, human prosperity is driven by ideas. And so, what you think about yourself is what you are. You don't attract to yourself what you want and who you want. You attract who you are. So the whole idea of being able to understand the need for self-mastery, and self-mastery starts with self-awareness.
Yeah.
It ends with self-actualization.
Yeah.
And it's everything in between, from self-knowledge, self-approval, self-commitment. But the biggest thing is self-care. You cannot care for a self that you don't know.
Wow.
So many people are avatars, and they are strangers to themselves.
Yeah.
But the greatest gift you can give to those you love is to get to know yourself.
That is so good.
If you know yourself,
Yeah.
you can teach people how to treat you based on how you treat yourself. But if you treat yourself casually, then your life will become a casualty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all. Y'all already know when people come on this show, it is going to be, it's going to get, they're going to get your life right. And I can tell you already, Dr. Trimm is snatching a little bit of edges I got left on this already bald head of mine, with just the knowledge of, like, we talk about here often that self-awareness is key. But when you say the avatar, like, I'm just like, it's that it hit, like, I'm a visual person. And I remember when the movie Avatar came out, and how, the guy who was the, not the avatar, like how he was, but how he showed up was completely different until he, transformed into the full avatar, but it's still this thing of, like, it's a portion of you, right? It's not you're not showing up as your whole self. And like you said, if you don't know who you are, how is someone else supposed to know who you are? And especially when we talk about in leading other people and being able to make an impact, be an inspiration, you can't do that if you don't know you first. Because,
and that's why, you see people who are very popular, they end up committing suicide because they feel lonely.
Yeah.
People are in love with their avatar, but they want to be loved. So what if you can embody the energy of that avatar and be it?
Yeah.
Not just projecting the image, but be that.
Yeah.
Embody the energy of the person you want to be. And that's what people will love.
Yeah.
They're going to love you. So you don't want them to be loving an image of you. You want them to love you. You don't want them to know an image of you. You want them to know you.
Yeah.
So be you. There's nobody else in this world that can be you, and everybody else is taken.
Yeah.
So you might as well be yourself.
That is absolutely true. So on this journey, of course, this is Slaying Self-Doubt. How has self-doubt showed up in your journey? Did you hear that ad at the beginning of the show? If you're a business owner looking to expand your reach, you can promote your company or product with a host-read pre-roll or mid-roll ad by me on the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. If you want more information, email info@FeliciaWallace.com. That's info@FeliciaWallace.com. Now, back to the show.
For me, I was thinking about that question the other day. I don't think I ever had a chance, a moment in my life where there was self-doubt. And I'll tell you why. My mother, my father abandoned my mother with 7 kids, right?
Mm.
I never knew my father, so I never suffered from fear of authority because there was no authority but my mother that was there. And she became everything. So she was the plumber, she was, the electrician out of necessity. Poverty was pulling potential out of her. So my first hero, my first superhero was my mom. So I think
Yeah.
mothers are superheroes, right? And I think lifestyles are caught, not taught. So it's
Mm.
what's demonstrated around you. So she was a powerful Black woman, a woman of color. And then she started her business, and it was based on solving problems in our community. So she used to pierce people's ears. She
Mm.
would bake cookies. She cleaned houses. And these were all entrepreneurial endeavors. My grandmother was a multimillionaire and a business owner. She and my grandfather owned constructions, import, export, grocery stores, all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
So I think it was passed down from one Black female to another,
Yeah.
but it's not how it's passed down, it is passed down.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times when we say, okay, well, I never grew up with it, but you can grow up with books, and books was a key for me.
Mm.
And reading books, that's when I use my imagination. And I think that why I did have self-doubt is because I didn't have one around me doubting me. I
Mm.
think going back to the whole idea of being taught self-loathing rather than self-loving, I grew up number 6 of 7. So because my father wasn't there, a piece of my wiring is missing.
Mm.
My social wiring, that is given to you by your father, which was a blessing. So I just didn't know something was wrong with me.
Wow.
I didn't know something was wrong with my life.
Yeah.
So unless we buy into the hype and we buy into social scientists that say you come from a dysfunctional home, thus you're dysfunctional. Well, what makes my single parent home dysfunctional?
Right.
Because you
Right.
say it's dysfunctional. We had order, we had love, we had consistency. My mother was home 5 o'clock every day.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have things. We didn't have a lot of clothes. We didn't have a lot of food. We ran out of water. We ran out of food, but we didn't run out of order.
Mm.
And I think it's the order part. If we have order in our lives, and especially women who are raising children and you're a single mother, if you bring order and structure into the house, then that's going to build esteem.
Mm.
A lot of us, don't have any order. So even for what if you grew up in a home where there's no order? Well, you could start bringing order in your life by bringing order in your mind.
Yeah.
Stop being controlled by external algorithms, these
Mm.
cultural and social algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
And people thinking for you, education teaches you what to think, but not how to think.
Yeah.
And we need to be taught how to think, not what to think. And if you could think for yourself, you can get rid of that self-doubt. And going back to the whole science of success starts with self-mastery.
Yeah.
And it includes self-discipline. You got to have routine, rest, relationships, rhythm, rituals, and roles.
Mm.
you know and you got to put routine. What time you're going to get up, what time you're going to go to bed, when are you going to wash your clothes, when are you going to wash your dishes.
Yeah.
And you bring routine in your house, bring routine in your children's house, because destiny is given to you one habit at a time.
Mm.
So where you end up tomorrow is based on the habits and routines you adopt today. So where does your future come from? It doesn't come from without you. It
Yeah.
comes from within you. You create it.
Yeah.
So if you
No.
don't like where you are, stop complaining. Change it.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. When you said that, the first thing I was thinking of was like, there's so many when I, in my own self-doubt journey, there's so many things that have been out of order. And I recognize that I've said that so many times that like I get started on something, but there's no consistency, right? There's no discipline. I fall back into old patterns and old habits of what has made me comfortable versus saying, if I had a routine, if I stuck to something. And I think one of the things is, and I feel like it's something of what you're saying is like how you talk to yourself, right? Because I would say I'm not an organized person. Well, if I say I'm not organized, well, I won't be organized, right? And I've excuse me, have not made effort to be an organized person. However, depending on what the situation is, oh, I can get something done, organized, and executed in whatever the amount of time it is, but it's about what it is that you say. And so when you're talking about the self-awareness and self-mastery, it, like you said, it starts within. So even as you're talking to yourself, if you're telling yourself you can't, if you're telling yourself you're not able to do those things, that all of that's going to turn into action. And so then you won't be organized. You won't have the discipline because you continue to tell yourself, oh, that's not me. I'm not an organized person. I'm not a disciplined person. I'm not a task list. I'm thinking these are all the things I've said to myself over the years. But I always say, the one thing I struggle with is consistency.
And we're talking about self here, right? Self-doubt, but we're replacing it with self-acceptance and self-love and self-discipline. But then you mentioned something that I think is so brilliant, and that's self-fulfilled prophecy. So now, how do you change a bad habit, replacing it with a good habit?
Right.
So it's the power of replacement, right?
Yeah.
Life does not work in a vacuum, and there's no such thing as a vacuum. If there is one, then it seeks to be filled. So
right.
If you want to change your bad habits, you have to create another habit, because habits they have what is a desire, and then they have a cue, and then they have results, and it creates this habit loop. What you may not always be able to change the cue, but you could change your response to that cue.
Yeah.
So, say for instance, if you want to exercise, and that's a hard thing. If you drag yourself out of the body, you keep saying, I'm going to exercise. What if you just change one of the habits? And since you cannot get rid of the cue, change the cue. So now you put your sneakers right by your bed.
Yep.
Crack pens. I have on Adidas. So every night I have sneakers, t-shirt, my foundational garment, and my tracks. I have it right there at the bed, and a bottle of water. So I know I'm going to drink first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to put on.
Yeah.
So I strap up and go in the gym. So now that's a habit. A habit is automatic. So let me ask you something. It's automatic.
Yeah.
So this morning, let's think about driving. What do you do first? Do you start the ignition, or do you buckle up?
I put on my seatbelt.
The first thing I do, I start my ignition. I put on my big seatbelt. Now, can you remember when you first started driving, you had to look over the hood?
Oh, yeah.
And nobody could talk to you.
Nobody could tell you couldn't say anything. Right.
Put on eyelashes, eat, talk, and drive.
Yes.
Because it's automatic. So that's what you want to bring to your life.
Yeah.
Success habits.
No, that is so good. Yeah.
Like, it's impossible for me to be poor. Why? Because creating wealth is a habit. So, why do people, end up getting stuck and, not being able to move on? Number one, fear. Not so much fear of failure, but fear of the responsibility that comes with success.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And people don't want to change. They habitual. It's the habit that they're fighting.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Yep.
Number two, no vision. So without a vision, people perish. So you got to have a vision for your life. I wrote a book, Hello Tomorrow. And in that book, chapter 8 will tell you the 12 areas to write a vision in. Everything that I envisioned 25 years ago, I've done it.
Wow.
I'm on my second 20 year.
I know,
and
that's
I'm only halfway there. So vision. Number 3, relationship constellation. A lot of us are putting ourselves among people that have capacity for our now, but not our next.
Ooh.
Or don't have capacity for us at all.
Yeah.
So your relationships, can the relationships that you have take you further than you want to go? If the answer is no, if they're struggling like you, if they're poor like you, the 5 people closest to you are prophesying your future. So that means some people have to change relationships.
Yeah.
You got to have a mentor. So I have proteges from all over the world, and I mentor the next women leaderships, the next movement makers, because now I have the wisdom and I'm giving back. So you got to have a mentor. Not knowing the change requires permission. You got to give yourself permission to change.
Wow.
And then procrastination.
I really do. This is literally my life.
Like procrastination is the assassination of your future.
Wow.
So what people do is ready, aim, 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 aim. So what you need to do is ready, fire, aim.
Wow.
And then the self-knowledge, we talked a little bit about that. So, and then, you ask, okay, if I have fear, how do I get rid of fear? Feel the fear, do it anyway.
Yeah.
What about what I do? Most people suffer from what I call possibility blindness or near success syndrome.
Yeah.
They get so close and then
so close. Right. You get so close. But I think all the things that you listed are the things that get you so close, that aiming, but too afraid to pull the trigger, too afraid to take that next step. And like you said, some of it is the fear of success, because you will have to be different and you will lose people and you will have to change and the things around you will change. And sometimes it is scarier than being where you are. Right. And so when you feel that and you know that, your habit comes back and say, you know what, we're safe here. We're good right here. Let's not move. We're going to stay right in this space. So Dr. Trimm, what have you learned about yourself during this journey that you didn't know before? If you've been listening to this podcast or following me on social media for a while and you're ready to start your journey to healing, or you're ready to confront your doubts and insecurities, there are 3 ways I can help. First, you can download the journal prompt from my website. Use this as a guide to get back on track with where God is calling you. Secondly, you can go to my website and purchase the Slaying Self-Doubt Prayer Journal. Using this prompt and journal will pull out where you are stuck on your journey. These questions will force you to dig deep and find your fears. Lastly, if you're ready to invest in your healing journey and work directly with me, book a 30-minute connection call with me today. This allows us to see if we are a good fit for each other. So head on over to my website, www.feliciawallace.com, to do one or all 3 of these. That's www.feliciawallace.com. Now, back to the show.
What did I spent so many years in the whole idea of developing myself and self-knowledge. I'm recently married, so I'm a newlywed. I've been married for 4 years.
Congratulations.
Married. Yes, thank you. I got married later in life. So I got married at 60. And and it came with children. They're adult children. It's really, really beautiful. But I learned that I am impatient. I didn't know how impatient I was until I got married.
That is true.
I thought I was always patient. I learned that men are from Mars, women are from Venus. For real. I learned that women can multitask, man cannot.
Not at all.
So, you've got to, I have to, when I talk to my husband, I talk to him at one thing at a time and not 5 things. I learned how awesome I am as a human being. Because I'm not afraid to change. So in my impatience, I decided, hey, this is something that I can work on. And so I changed.
Wow.
And I learned that I cannot change anybody else. I can only change myself.
Yes.
By virtue of me changing, they change to accommodate my change.
I really do think you learn that in marriage. Between that and children, those are the two lessons that you will learn, that the only thing that you really control and the thing that you can change is yourself. And everybody will adapt to the new you, right? Because once you show up differently, they like, oh, okay, well, now she not acting the same way. So okay, we gonna go with this one. So I definitely agree with that. You've given us so much knowledge today. How can people connect with you? How can they find out what it is you're doing, where they can get the book, all of those things?
Oh, yeah. So I wrote a book, Unstoppable, and it's a book that it's like having a literary mentor, because I'm talking directly to you.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it specifically for women, especially millennials between the ages of 35 and 55.
Okay.
So I'm very deliberate about that. And I give away all the trade secrets. So you can pick up a copy of the book for free.
Yes, let's go.
So it's unstoppable.com. I think it is unstoppable.book.com, and also the Unstoppable program. But I'm on all social media. It's blue checked. So if it's a small number, it ain't me.
I know that's right.
So I'm on all social media, Cindy Trimm or Dr. Cindy Trimm, and would love to connect with everyone. I'm here for the next generation of women movers and shakers and history makers. That's what I'm doing.
And so before we go, Dr. Trimm, what advice do you have for anybody who is in that space of wanting to really make that change, wanting to really be in that space of they feel like they're a dreamer, or they know that they're an innovator, they know they're the next leader? What advice would you have for them to be able to go?
Connect with me.
I know that's right.
Because I'm giving them trade secrets. I think, when I was 17, I definitely knew who I was. And if I had someone who took me as seriously as I took myself, at 30, I was running a country. At 32, I was retired. And at 32, when I retired from running a country, if I had a mentor, I could have been running the world.
Wow.
So take yourself seriously. Take your dreams seriously. Take your dreams out of layaway. Take your brand out of witness protection.
Y'all, listen. Okay. You know what? Dr. Trimm, you is giving us way too much today, because you came for everybody who was over here hiding, who is playing small, because she came for y'all. Y'all thought it was going to be real gentle how she was going to tell you. She said, come on out of hiding is what she said. Come on out of hiding. Thank you so much, Dr. Trimm, for joining us today. I appreciate it. Y'all, I will make sure I have the book and all of the social media links in the show notes so you can connect with her. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. If anything I could do for you, just let me know. We got to do this again.
Yes, thank you.
God bless.
All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.